Melissa Knorr is the operations manager at the Open Door, and she was first introduced to the organization as a social work intern in 2014 and stayed connected as a board member for the next 2 years. During her time here at Pitt, she was an Evans Fellow, a board member of the Global Health Student Association, and administrative intern for Bridging the Gaps. After 3 long years, she earned her master's degree and her social work degree in 2016. And then prior to her graduate work, she also served in the Peace Corps in Zambia, Belize, and Costa Rica in health, education, and youth development sectors, respectively. Come on in.
Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone for coming. So I was trying to think about what would be most useful to speak to everyone about today. I know a lot of faces in the audience, which is really fantastic, and many of you have heard many of my different stories. But after listening to these inspiring public health professionals, I'm trying to figure it out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what brought me to public health in the first place. And as lots of folks talked about, and especially TD just recently spoke about, it was the Peace Corps. So as you heard from the intro, I was technically a 3-time Peace Corps volunteer. I just could not get enough. So I started right after undergrad. I went to Zambia for 2 years, and I worked in the community health sector. Readjusting to the United States was very challenging. There was so much cultural shock. Like, you could talk about a number of things, but I think for me, one of the most challenging aspects was finding something that was fulfilling to me. I had just been living for 2 years in a rural village in northwestern Zambia, and I could do anything. I was convinced that I could do anything. We don't have the resources, I'll figure it out. We'll make something, like whatever you need me to do, I can do it. But being in the United States, there was kind of a different level of qualifications that people were expecting. And so eventually I kind of came to a wall in terms of what people were willing to allow me to do here in the United States with the degrees that I had. And I'd kind of worn out my welcome in the Peace Corps. After the 3rd time, they were like, "No, Melissa, like, I don't know if we can let you do this again." So I decided it was time to come back to grad school. I've always been from Pittsburgh. I came back and I was living in Pittsburgh at the time, and I was working down the street at UPMC and helping to coordinate a wonderful fellowship program in hospice and palliative medicine. And in my free time, I was just like, let me just check out the Pitt grad school programs. And I came across this public health social work joint degree program. And I remember reading the definition of the program, and I was like, oh my God, other people are into this? I had no idea. I'd been like living public health for so many years as a Peace Corps volunteer, but I didn't have like the language to articulate what I was seeing and what I was doing and everything. And so it was just so fascinating to me stumbling upon it. So that's how I came here, and through the openness and support of so many wonderful people like Dr. Terry, who willingly communicated with me before I was even accepted into the program, because I had so many questions, had no idea where I was going. So I ended up here, and that was wonderful, and I'm so glad to have been able to come here and to spend the 3 years, because not only do I really value both my social work degree and my public health degree, but for me, I needed that amount of time to figure out what it was that I wanted to do in this next leg of my life. So, I was here for 3 years, and after being in the Peace Corps, something that always came up was health. Whether I was in a health program or whether I was in the education program. I mean, being a woman from the United States put me in a position where I had so much more information about my own body even than the women that I was working with. Women were constantly coming to me asking me questions about, HIV or birth control, family planning, even like normal illnesses. And sometimes I felt overwhelmed by those questions, thinking to myself, well, I'm not a doctor. I don't know that I can like give this woman advice, but I had to realize I already knew so much. And so it was kind of natural coming into this program thinking, I want to focus on like global women's health, reproductive health. That is my jam. And so I spent like 3 years honing in on that. I wrote my thesis about it, came to the end of the program. I'd really been like networking my butt off. I know that we say networking is such a buzzword, but I was meeting every professor and having them introduce me to every person they possibly thought, Katie was one of the poor souls. Whenever I was job searching, let me figure out what I'm gonna do. But I also did a lot of, like honest to goodness kind of soul searching while I was applying for jobs. What is it that what's my must have? I still have the spreadsheets because it wasn't that long ago. And I'm really glad I have them to look back on because, I found what I thought was a really great job. I graduated last May, had a really great job lined up, started there, and I was there for a couple months, and it just wasn't right. And this other opportunity came up, and I thought to myself, this other opportunity was with the Open Door, and I had interned there and loved it. I had served on the board there and loved it, and I had to really ask myself, Melissa, are you going to apply for this job because you know you'll get it, or is this really what you want to do? And so I was very thankful to have that spreadsheet to look back on, and I looked at it, and it checked off almost all of the boxes, and I said, let's go for this. So that's how I ended up at the Open Door as the program manager. And for those of you who have taken Dr. Hawk's class or know her, I don't want to go on and on and on about the Open Door and its mission, because I'm sure you've heard better presentations about that. But basically, we operate two programs at the Open Door. We run a housing program, and we also run a representative payee program, and I dabble in both of those. I single-handedly manage the representative payee program for something near 60 clients. We manage their finances on a regular basis. And then we also have a housing and apartment unit with 14 units. Right now we have 16 residents because we have some folks who are doubled up in those units. And I work directly with residents at times. I work directly with our peer staff members at other times to support them and to brainstorm with them creative solutions. So let me show you some pictures so we can stop staring at this screen. This is our really fantastic team. Christina Farmatino, who's on the far right, also graduated from Pitt Public Health a few years ago in IDM, and she's our executive director, and she is a joy to work with. And I feel privileged to have the opportunity to work with such a fantastic leader every single day. She has really created a phenomenal team over there. All of our staff members have a voice. They're all valued. The level of respect there is just unbelievable, and it's such a fun, creative, and collaborative environment to work in. This is a picture of some current and former residents. We had our 10th anniversary over the summer, and we had a really fantastic cookout up at the apartment complex. And one of our former residents is a phenomenal artist, and he designed these really great cards for board members and other folks that had been instrumental in the success of the Open Door. And so that's a picture of residents and former residents signing off on those cards. And one of the things that I know Dr. Hawk talks about as well, and that's really touching to me in my work, is just the community that's been created. Residents that currently live there, residents that were formerly living there, board members, staff members. It's a really tight-knit community, and it's a place where people know that they can just be themselves and be comfortable, come as they are, and that no one is judging them, but everyone wants what they believe is best for them, and we're gonna figure it out. We really operate from a harm reduction philosophy, and I don't always use, the standard language to define what harm reduction is, but to me on a daily basis, I believe that harm reduction is the gray area. It's not always black or white. There's not an easy solution. What works for me might not work for you. So life is messy. It's real messy, and we're just gonna figure this out as we go. You tell me what your goals are, what you need, and we're gonna figure this out some way, somehow. So to give an example, my first day of work, Christina and I prevented someone from being evicted. She had an outstanding payment on rent and had been delivered an eviction notice, and Christina and I just sat down and made some phone calls and transferred some money and made sure that she had a home to stay in. So that's one of the things that we do. We're a really small organization, so we have a little more flexibility in being able to really make it work for everyone that we work with, and I love that about my job too. This was at our our new annual fundraising event called Run Amok, which y'all should look out for this spring, when we ran a along the Southside Riverfront Trail. So it's a picture of myself and Christina in the middle, our bold executive director, and one of our board members, Laura, there on the side. So just kind of highlighting the way that we all work together and collaborate together, and it's a really fantastic environment. And we also collaborate with lots of community partners, another thing I really enjoy about the job. So Laura is also board chair at Prevention Point, the local needle exchange program. We partner with them on a regular basis. They actually are able to bring their mobile unit and park it in our lot up on Perry Hilltop once a week. So that's a really helpful collaboration that we have. We also work very closely with Jewish Healthcare Foundation and with the HIV clinics at both UPMC and Allegheny. Volunteers come and do really wonderful things like beautifying the premises for us. And this is a picture of our really fantastic board holding a really wonderful award that we received last year. It was the Fine Award. So it was given to them for, representing the solution to optimal health outcomes for high-risk payees living with HIV/AIDS. So just a little glimpse into my life, and thanks for listening. Happy to answer questions later.